Welcome to Framework, the podcast that makes the NIST cybersecurity framework practical, engaging, and accessible. Whether you're a cybersecurity professional, business leader, or simply curious about how organizations defend against cyber threats, this series is for you. This podcast is inspired by a comprehensive guide to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, a best-selling resource written by cybersecurity expert Dr. Jason Edwards and trusted by professionals worldwide. In each episode, we'll leverage a few insights from Jason's extensive book to dive deep into CSF 2.0, unpacking every function, category, and subcategory with real-world applications you can immediately use. If you're enjoying this episode and want to learn more, head over to cyberauthor.me to grab your copy of the book and access additional resources to enhance your cybersecurity journey. You can also visit baremetalcyber.com, where over 2 million people last year explored expert insights, articles, and practical tools across a wide range of cybersecurity topics. GV.RM-02 risk management roles and responsibilities are established. GV.RM-02 ensures that organizations clearly define, assign, and enforce cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities across all levels of the organization. This subcategory belongs to the govern function within the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, version 2.0, emphasizing that cybersecurity risk management is not solely an IT responsibility, but an enterprise-wide initiative requiring leadership engagement, strategic oversight, and operational accountability. Without clearly established roles and responsibilities, organizations face gaps in security enforcement, misaligned risk ownership, and uncoordinated responses to cybersecurity threats, increasing the likelihood of compliance failures and operational disruptions. Establishing cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities ensures that all personnel, from executives to frontline staff, understand their obligations in identifying, mitigating, and responding to cybersecurity risks. A structured approach to risk management roles enhances accountability, ensures that security policies are enforced consistently, and prevents security responsibilities from being overlooked or mismanaged. Organizations that formally define risk management roles can streamline cybersecurity governance, improve decision-making, and align risk mitigation strategies with business objectives. Multiple stakeholders play a role in cybersecurity risk management. Executive leadership and board members provide strategic cybersecurity direction, approve security budgets, and define risk tolerance levels to ensure cybersecurity aligns with enterprise goals. Chief Information Security Officers and risk management teams implement cyber risk assessment frameworks, execute security controls, and coordinate threat response efforts to mitigate organizational risk. Compliance and legal teams ensure that cybersecurity risk management practices align with industry regulations, contractual security obligations, and corporate governance policies, minimizing legal exposure and non-compliance risks. Cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities are established through structured governance frameworks, cybersecurity role definitions, and risk ownership policies. This includes assigning cybersecurity leadership positions, defining responsibilities for risk assessment and mitigation, and ensuring that all employees receive training on their cybersecurity obligation. Organizations that fail to define cybersecurity risk management roles risk security governance gaps, weak security policy enforcement, and uncoordinated risk response strategies, increasing their exposure to cyber threats and regulatory penalties. Several key terms define cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities. Risk ownership refers to the specific individuals or teams responsible for identifying, assessing, and mitigating cybersecurity risks within an organization. Lines of defense model structure cybersecurity risk governance into 3 layers. First-line employees enforcing security controls, second-line risk management teams overseeing compliance, and third-line auditors verifying cybersecurity governance. Incident response teams, IRTs, are dedicated teams that analyze, respond to, and contain cybersecurity threats, ensuring rapid and coordinated incident handling. Cybersecurity steering committees oversee enterprise-wide security risk management strategies, providing leadership engagement and cross-functional collaboration. Security awareness champions are employees trained to promote cybersecurity best practices within their departments, serving as key influencers in maintaining a strong security culture. Challenges in defining cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities often lead to unclear accountability, weak security enforcement, and poor coordination in responding to cyber incidents. One common issue is assuming that cybersecurity is solely an IT function, rather than a business-wide responsibility requiring leadership, compliance, and operational engagement. Another challenge is failure to document and communicate cybersecurity responsibilities, leading to role confusion and ineffective security governance. Some organizations mistakenly believe that assigning a Chief Information Security Officer is sufficient, without recognizing that all employees and business units must contribute to cybersecurity risk management efforts. When organizations clearly define and enforce cybersecurity risk management roles, they improve security oversight, enhance collaboration between security teams and business units, and ensure that cyber risks are proactively identified and mitigated. A structured cybersecurity role assignment model enables organizations to align risk ownership with business functions, ensure that security teams have the necessary authority to enforce security policies, and streamline cybersecurity risk governance across all departments. Organizations that implement role-based security responsibilities, cross-sectional security collaboration, and structured cybersecurity leadership models establish a resilient risk management framework that prevents cyber incidents, ensures compliance, and supports long-term business continuity. Organizations that fail to establish well-defined cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities face significant security, operational, and regulatory risks. Without clearly assigned roles, cybersecurity decision-making becomes fragmented, leading to delays in incident response, inconsistent security enforcement, and mismanagement of cyber threats. A common risk is overlapping or unclear responsibilities, where multiple teams assume that another department is responsible for security oversight, resulting in gaps in risk ownership and unaddressed vulnerabilities. Another issue is insufficient leadership engagement, where executives fail to define security governance structures, leaving security teams without the authority or resources to implement effective cybersecurity policies. By defining and communicating cybersecurity risk management roles and responsibilities, organizations ensure that security functions are assigned to the appropriate personnel, risk ownership is clearly established, and cybersecurity policies are consistently enforced across all business units. A structured risk governance model improves collaboration between security teams, compliance officers, and executive leadership, ensuring that cybersecurity risk is treated as a strategic business concern rather than solely a technical issue. Organizations that implement formal cybersecurity role assignments, enforce cross-functional security collaboration, and ensure leadership engagement in cybersecurity decision-making, strengthen risk oversight, improve security posture, and enhance overall resilience against cyber threats. At the partial tier, organizations lack formal cybersecurity role assignments, leading to unclear security responsibilities, uncoordinated risk mitigation efforts, and reactive security practices. Cybersecurity risk management is often limited to IT teams, with no executive oversight or structured governance models. A small business at this level may lack a dedicated security officer, leaving cyber risk decisions to general IT personnel without formal cybersecurity expertise, increasing exposure to cyber attacks, compliance failures, and operational disruptions. At the risk-informed tier, organizations begin to define cybersecurity roles and assign risk responsibilities, ensuring that cybersecurity governance is partially structured and risk accountability is improving. However, cybersecurity role assignments may still be informal or inconsistently enforced, leading to gaps in security governance and limited executive engagement in cybersecurity decision-making. A mid-sized company at this level may assign a cybersecurity lead to oversee risk management efforts, but fail to implement structured risk ownership policies or enforce clear lines of accountability, leading to inconsistent security enforcement across different departments. At the repeatable tier, organizations establish fully structured cybersecurity role assignments, ensuring that cybersecurity responsibilities are documented, assigned to appropriate personnel, and integrated into enterprise risk management frameworks. Risk ownership is clearly defined, cybersecurity policies are consistently enforced, and cross-functional security teams are actively engaged in managing cyber threats. A financial institution at this level may implement a cybersecurity governance committee, structured role-based risk ownership models, and continuous training programs to ensure all personnel understand their cybersecurity responsibility. At the adaptive tier, organizations employ AI-driven cybersecurity governance models, real-time risk monitoring systems, and dynamic risk ownership frameworks to continuously evaluate and refine cybersecurity roles and responsibilities. Risk governance structures are fully automated and adaptive, allowing leadership to adjust security roles based on evolving cyber threats, emerging business risks, and regulatory requirements. A global technology company at this level may use automated access management systems, real-time security role tracking tools, and predictive risk modeling to dynamically assign and adjust cybersecurity responsibilities based on operational risk factors. Cybersecurity risk management role assignments align with multiple controls in the National Institute of Standards and Technology Special Publication 800-53, ensuring that organizations implement structured security governance frameworks. One key control is PM-2, Senior Official Responsibility, which requires organizations to assign executive leadership with oversight for cybersecurity risk management, policy enforcement, and compliance monitoring. A healthcare provider implementing this control may designate a Chief Information Security Officer to oversee cybersecurity strategy, provide risk updates to executive leadership, and implement structured cybersecurity risk management policies that align with patient data protection regulations. Another key control is IR-1, Incident Response Policy and Responsibilities, which mandates that organizations define security roles, assign incident response duties, and ensure that personnel are trained to manage cybersecurity incidents effectively. A financial institution implementing this control may establish a dedicated security operations center, staffed with security analysts responsible for real-time threat detection, forensic investigations, and coordinated cyber incident response efforts. Cybersecurity risk management role assignments also align with AC-2, account management, which requires organizations to establish and enforce structured access control policies, ensuring that personnel have the appropriate level of access based on their security roles and responsibilities. This control ensures that organizations assign role-based access to sensitive data and systems, preventing unauthorized access and minimizing insider threats. A technology company implementing this control may enforce least privilege access policies, requiring employees to request elevated system permissions through an automated identity governance platform, ensuring that access privileges align with their cybersecurity responsibilities. These controls can be adapted based on organizational size, industry, and regulatory requirements. A small business may implement basic role-based security policies, ensuring that employees follow standardized cybersecurity guidelines and receive training on security responsibility. A large enterprise may establish fully integrated cybersecurity governance frameworks, where risk ownership is structured across business units, executive leadership receives real-time security updates, and automated risk assessment tools continuously refine security role assignments. Organizations in highly regulated industries, such as finance, healthcare, and critical infrastructure, may implement formal security role assignment models, compliance-driven risk governance frameworks, and advanced access control policies to ensure adherence to industry regulations and national cybersecurity standards. Auditors assess cybersecurity risk management role assignments by reviewing whether organizations have structured, clearly documented, and continuously enforced cybersecurity governance frameworks that define security roles across all business units and operational functions. They evaluate whether organizations assign security responsibilities to designated personnel, enforce cybersecurity policies consistently, and integrate cybersecurity risk ownership into broader enterprise risk management strategies. If an organization fails to define cybersecurity roles or lacks structured risk governance models, auditors may issue findings highlighting security oversight gaps, role ambiguity, and weak cybersecurity accountability measures. To verify compliance, auditors seek specific types of evidence: cybersecurity governance policy documents and security role assignment records. demonstrate that organizations formally define and enforce structured cybersecurity responsibilities across business functions. Training records and security awareness program reports provide insights into whether employees receive structured cybersecurity education and understand their security obligations. Incident response logs and access control audit reports show whether organizations assign designated personnel to manage security incidents, enforce security policies, and oversee cybersecurity risk mitigation strategies. A compliance success scenario could involve a financial institution that undergoes an audit and provides evidence that cybersecurity role assignments are clearly documented, security responsibilities are enforced across business units, and risk ownership is continuously evaluated based on evolving threats. Auditors confirm that security policies are aligned with industry regulations, leadership actively participates in cybersecurity governance, and personnel receive ongoing cybersecurity training to maintain risk awareness. In contrast, an organization that fails to assign cybersecurity responsibilities beyond the IT department or lacks formal risk ownership policies may receive audit findings for insufficient risk governance, lack of executive engagement, and failure to enforce cybersecurity responsibilities across the organization. Organizations face multiple barriers in implementing effective cybersecurity risk management role assignments. One major challenge is role ambiguity and lack of clear accountability, where security responsibilities are not well defined, leading to confusion over who is responsible for cybersecurity enforcement and risk decision-making. Another challenge is poor collaboration between security teams and business leadership, where cybersecurity risk is treated as a technical issue rather than an enterprise-wide concern, leading to misalignment between cybersecurity initiatives and business priorities. A final challenge is lack of training and awareness programs, where employees are not adequately informed about their cybersecurity responsibilities, increasing the likelihood of human error, security policy violations, and insider threats. Organizations can overcome these barriers by formalizing cybersecurity role assignments, integrating cybersecurity governance into executive decision-making, and implementing continuous security training programs. Investing in automated identity governance solutions, role-based security enforcement frameworks, and executive-level cybersecurity governance committees ensures that organizations assign, enforce, and continuously refine cybersecurity risk responsibilities across business units. Standardizing cybersecurity governance models across all departments, subsidiaries, and third-party vendors ensures that security risks are managed consistently, reducing exposure to cyber threats and strengthening enterprise-wide risk management strategies. By embedding cybersecurity role assignments into enterprise governance, organizations improve risk visibility, enhance compliance with regulatory frameworks, and ensure sustainable cybersecurity governance in an evolving cyber threat landscape. That wraps up today's discussion on framework. Don't stop here. Head over to cyberauthor.me to explore more cybersecurity topics and discover a best-selling book covering NIST and other critical cyber frameworks. Please like, rate, and review this episode on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, remember that knowledge is power.